So I started with the parallax occlusion mapping node. I won't go in depth to how this works, but it's pretty complex. I'll link to the original video by the guy who made it. Then I used some textures from cc0textures.com, just the normal PBR maps, and you get a pretty nice looking material. For the silhouette clipping, because parallax occlusion mapping is still only on one piece of geometry, one plane here, so it would look flat otherwise, but if you set the mode to clip here instead of repeat or extend, and use the alpha channel in the principled shader, you can get a really convincing fake for actually tessellated and displaced geometry. For reference, this is what a tessellated plane would look like. You can see that the silhouette looks convincing, and you can also see that it's displaced, not just simply flat like this. So as for my shader, I have this water level node group, and you have some parameters. You can start with, obviously the most important, the height of the water on the rocks. You can adjust the sharpness of the boundary. So out there it looks too crisp, so you can dial it back and get a nice transition, almost as if like the water is creeping up the rocks. You can adjust the dirt leveled, so make it really muddy water, or very clean, but that doesn't look realistic. So I try to keep it to 1. So this is the node group for the water level, but you can't really click through each of the nodes to see what's in there, so I'm going to ungroup them for now. So these are the parameters that it would take in. These are water level and the bleed values. So the water level gets the bleed value added to it and subtracted from it. That way you get a softer edge than just using a greater than or less than node. It also takes in the height map from over here from the parallax mapping, but you don't need the parallax mapping height map. You could just use the regular one that comes with your texture. It's not here, it's inside the parallax node. But anyway, these parameters will be adjusted in the node group. The waves feature I included, but found out through a comment that standing water of this size should not have ripples in it. So I'm just going to leave that slider dialed down. For the dirt, it takes it fakes a volumetric effect, where the deeper you go, the darker the water becomes. So you have the normal height map, inverting it just to get higher values for deeper values. This multiplies it so it's only affecting the area that's underneath the water. This multiplies it by the bleed value. And this one is kind of controlling the strength of the sediment. But once this is complete, it goes into the factor socket of these two nodes. So this, I'm mixing it with the color from the texture, and you can pick any color that you want, but I thought this one went well with this material. The darken blend mode kind of acts like a layer of dirt that you'd see settled at the bottom, whereas this mix one just adds in a layer inside the water, like just mud particles in suspension. So with the roughness map, you want the water to be perfectly smooth or very close to it, while retaining the roughness of the rest of the texture. So this is the source roughness texture, and when you use that factor that we got before for under the water, and then bring that into this mix node, it mixes the water spots, like here, with black, with the original texture, and then you get appropriate roughness at the point. Yeah. Same thing with the normals. You don't want any normal mapping to occur under the water. So we just take this same factor, invert it, and plug it into the normal map's strength socket so that you get flat normals here and then textured normals over here. And that is compiled into the shader. This node group works without the parallax occlusion mapping node. I just thought it would look cooler that way, but you can see just using this texture with the normal mapping and the normal textures right here, you can still get a pretty cool effect. It's not the same because it doesn't have that nice 3D faked effect, and you can see the edges of the plane, but you know, it can work on any texture. I'll show you what it looks like with another texture. Let's try this one. And this is without parallax occlusion mapping, so you don't have the 3D effect, but you still have that control over the water level, whether it's fully submerged or down low. This would probably be quite muddy water, so it's a really cool effect, and I will be sure to share it.